Hi guys, how's it going? Just give me a second whilst I get set up and situated and everything's working, just to double check. Good morning, David. Hi. As I'm getting myself set up, do let me know where you're tuning in from, how your week has gone, what you've been up to, any exciting news to share, any good news to share that all of us can rejoice in with you together. If you are tuning in for the first time, hi Jen Hao. Hi, thank you for joining us this morning. If you guys are tuning in for the first time, my name is Pastor Jinai. I am a pastor with Kachara, which I guess would be kind of obvious given that you're tuning into the Kachara Facebook fan page. But yeah, I am a pastor with Kachara. My name is Pastor Gina, and thank you very much for joining me this morning. Good morning, Joyce. Hello. How have you guys been doing in the last month of the lockdown? How's everything going? What have you been up to? Have you received your vaccination jabs yet? What vaccination did you get? Let's wait for a couple more people to join us before we get started on today's topic. As usual, my plan is to keep today's sharing a bit on the shorter side, so that we can get through as many of your questions as possible. So if you guys do have any questions about what I'm about to share about or about anything in general, please put them in the comment section and then I will get to them at the end. All right. And if I don't manage to, then I will respond after the live streaming. Just as an aside, do I really respond to the questions that you guys ask? Yes, I do. It might take me a while, but I do. Case in point, today's live stream is on a topic from a question that was asked by Jian Hao a month ago. So it does take me a bit of time to get to answering the question, but I do get there eventually. All right. But yeah, I definitely will answer your questions. David asks, what's the update with the statue? I don't know about the statue, so I can't tell you about the statue, but do go to the Semrimurti Relics Stupa group on Facebook and there will be updates there coming. All right. Yeah, see, that's the thing though, right? If people like moved into Pahang or like moved to Bentong, then they could actually like take part and volunteer in the project. But now that there's the lockdown going on, and interstate and inter-district travel is restricted, unfortunately not everyone can join. Hi Seloden. Oh, Joyce. So sorry to hear about your rotator cuff, but good to know that you're fully vaccinated. Yay. All right. So before we get started today, I just want to say a big thank you to the sponsors of today's sharing. And I deeply apologize if I mispronounce your name. But thank you very much to Ko Ten Chi and Yap Zi Eng, who would like to dedicate their sponsorship to all sentient beings. May they never be parted from happiness, free of suffering. As well as a sponsor who wishes to remain anonymous and who would like to dedicate their contribution towards all beings' liberation from suffering and attainment of compassion, wisdom, and true happiness. So thank you very much, guys, for your sponsorship and contribution towards this program. I do want to say that you guys always make really nice dedications to your contributions, and it's really nice to read them, and it's really good to keep generating this mind of bodhicitta and wishing enlightenment for all sentient beings. What our Guru, His Eminence Sam Tuku Rinpoche, always explained to us is that if you love only yourself, then everyone else is left out. But if you love everyone else, and if you love everyone, then you yourself are included. So keep them coming, guys. Your dedications are very nice. And I know I say this every week, but also thank you so much for your continued support of these programs. Not just mine, but also everyone else's, like Pastor David, Pastor Nero, JP, Pastor Shin, Pastor Adeline, and so on. All right. If you would like to sponsor a show, sponsor a program, there is a link in the description section of this live stream. So just click on that if you'd like to show your support. Okay, so last month, Jian Hao asked a question about doing retreats. And I do realize that it is a departure from my usual topic, line of thought, subjects. But at the same time, I also know that many of us are having a lot of spare time on our hands right now. So now would be the perfect time to engage in what I'm going to be sharing about today. So yes, Yenhao asked a question about doing retreats. Specifically, he asked, what do we do during a retreat? And can you share more about retreats? And I can, Yenhao, I can share more about retreats. But before we get into how do you do a retreat, I'm going to be talking today about what a retreat is. I'm going to be talking in brief about what a retreat is. A retreat is when you focus on a particular deity practice for the practitioner to merge and to become one with the deity. What does that mean? What does it mean to merge and to become one with the deity? It means to develop the deity's qualities, and it means to develop the attainments that the deity represents. So you're not worshipping the deity, you are engaging in practices and you're engaging in meditations, and you're creating the basis in order for you to develop and to achieve the same attainments as what the deity represents. So not idol worship, but you are trying to become one with the deity in that way. And it means to try to develop the enlightened mind that the deity represents. During a retreat, what happens is you focus on, or you concentrate on a particular meditation or on a particular visualization, and you focus on achieving a certain number of recitations of a particular mantra or a particular prayer. So, for example, Om Arapasanadi, Manjushri's mantra, or Doji Shukden's confessional prayer. You can focus on accumulating a certain number of recitations of that confessional prayer. When you do a retreat, it is about taking a conscious step back from all of the actions that we engage in on a day-to-day basis, which deepen and which further our samsara, and which deepen and which further our attachments. So we are actively recognizing that what we're doing on a day-to-day basis is not helpful or is not beneficial towards our spiritual progress in the long run. And so we're making an effort to change that, and we're making an active effort to do something about it, to correct it, if you will. All right, so why is this important? This is important. Before I continue on why it's important. Hi, Florence. Hi, Nguyen. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name. Vietnamese names, I find I struggle with. Hola, Jose. Okay, so yeah, so why is it important for us to do that? Why is it important for us to take an active step back and recognizing that what we do on a day-to-day basis is not helpful towards our spiritual progress in the long run? In our everyday lives, the fact is that we don't leave very much time for our practice. And when I say practice, I'm not talking about mantra recitations. I'm not talking about sadhana and all that. And I'm sorry, when I say practice, I'm not talking about the actual application of Dharma. I'm not talking about the actual practice of Dharma. I'm not talking about the 23 hours that we spend off of the meditation cushion. I'm actually talking about that 1 hour that we spend on the meditation cushion. When I say that we don't leave much time for practice, I'm talking about actual sit-down practice. I'm talking about visualization. I'm talking about meditation. I'm talking about a period of time in the day that we carve out for ourselves, that we can engage in purification and we can engage in merit accumulation. So most of us don't spend very much time on actual sit-down practice. And actual sit-down practice is an integral part of our spiritual practice. It's an integral part of our spiritual path. It is what we need to engage in, what we need to do in order to create a karmic basis for our spiritual development. So most of us don't actually carve out very much time in our day to do that. On the other hand, most of us think that we are very faithful. We think that we are very religious, and we think that we're very spiritual. But how much time do we actually spend on prayer? How much time do we actually spend on sadhana? How much time do we actually spend on practice? And if you really think about it, we have 24 hours in a day. Everyone has 24 hours in a day. Most of us spend at most on a day, regularly, consistently speaking, most of us spend at most about an hour each day doing our sadhana. What is a sadhana? A sadhana is our daily meditation practice. It's a set of practices that have been instructed to us, have been given to us by our guru, by our spiritual guide, for us to practice and to recite and to engage in every single day. So most of us in 24 hours, we spend at most about an hour a day on our sadhana, on our daily practice. 2 hours, perhaps, if we are really concentrating that day and really doing the meditations nicely, really doing the visualizations nicely. Oh yes, Lama Tsongkhapa's mudras like this, there's a golden glow. 2 hours at most. 3 hours if we're feeling especially motivated that day, or if we're feeling especially semangat, rajin, whatever, then we might make full sets of offerings, and we might take our time, when we are pouring the water into the water bowl, or when we're cleaning the water bowl, we're really reciting Dupong, Drimapong. If we're really engaging in doing that properly, maybe 3 at most, but very rarely. So the reality is that for most of us, in 24 hours a day, when we're doing our sadhana, most of us are rushing to finish our sadhana. Most of us are asking or thinking, what shortcuts can I take? So, in my sadhana, it says Mixema recitation minimum 21 times. So I'll do the minimum. So instead of thinking, I'll do more, we think, I'll just do the basic minimum, okay? Most of us are thinking, what kind of shortcuts can I take? What is the basic minimum that I can do? Most of us are thinking, okay, I need to recite this super fast because I need to get on with cooking dinner. I need to get on with grocery shopping. I need to get on with sending off the email to someone at work, or I need to go to sleep. So most people are rushing through their recitations super quickly. Or some people think of it as a competition. Yesterday, I did my sadhana in 30 minutes. Today, I'm going to do it so fast that I'll finish it in 15 minutes. Some people think like that. Some people even ask, I'm so busy every single day. So, Pastor Gina, is it okay if I do the condensed sadhana? So people find ways to cut down the sadhana even more. So that is generally how most people treat our daily practice. Rushing through it, not really engaging in the visualizations properly, figuring out ways to do the minimum, or figuring out ways to take shortcuts, or asking for permission to do a condensed version. So, is that how we normally approach things that we want to be successful in? When we engage in activities, when we engage in projects, when we engage in behaviors towards secular material success, do we think about taking shortcuts? I know most of us would like to get rich quick and hit gold and or oil or whatever and get rich quick and not have to put in the requisite effort in order to achieve material success. But for the vast majority of us, we have the understanding that if you want to succeed in the secular world, you need to put in the effort, you need to put in the time, and we're willing to sacrifice our sleep, we're willing to sacrifice our personal time, our me time, we're willing to sacrifice time with our families and with our children and so on in order to see that material success. So we already have that tendency and understanding in us that if you want to achieve success, you need to put in the time, you need to put in the effort, you need to suffer. Why then does that same attitude not translate over to our spirituality and into our spiritual practice? So on a day-to-day basis, already we're thinking shortcut, condensed version, rushing through things. I'm very tired, I'm very sleepy, I'm very busy, and so on. Now, when you're doing a retreat, what you're saying is that all of these things that I normally do, which distract me from spiritual practice, which distract me from prayer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set aside all of these things for now. I'm going to, as Rinpoche would say, I'm going to KIV it for now. I'm going to keep it in view for now. And I'm going to set all these distractions aside. I'm going to set this attitude of rushing through things aside. And what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to focus and I'm going to spend time and dedicate time to merit accumulation. I'm going to focus and dedicate time to making offerings. I'm going to dedicate and focus time to purifying my karma. I'm going to take out time and focus during this period on doing this for myself and doing this for other sentient beings. So a real retreat is when someone shuts themselves away for an extended period of time in order to do this, where they take an active step back from all of the things that normally distract them in daily life, distract them from their spiritual practice, and they focus specifically on merit accumulation, on purifying karma, and on developing the qualities and developing the karmic basis and the merits necessary in order for us to become one with our meditational deity, our yidam. YIDAM. All right. So in a real retreat, what happens is someone shuts themselves away for an extended period of time to do this, and they will do a set of prayers, for example, like their sadhana, but they will focus on the prayers very, very well, and they will use this time to make as extensive offerings as possible, because now suddenly you have time to make extensive offerings. And they will focus on doing their visualizations properly, and doing it nicely and taking their time to do it. So before every recitation of this part of the prayer, then they'll sit there and they'll meditate, and then they will meditate and visualize the deity properly. And they will focus on accumulating as many recitations of the mantra as possible. And during a real retreat, what happens is, depending on how strict the retreatant is, or depending on how strict the parameters of the retreat are, retreatants will do their best not to talk unnecessarily. So between sessions, which I'll explain later, retreatants won't engage in idle chatter, gossip. All right, they won't engage in purposeless speech between retreat sessions. And depending on how strict the retreatants are, they may not even receive visitors. In a traditional retreat, what Rinpoche explained to us is that retreatants won't stray very far from their retreat space. They will tend to stay within the boundaries of their retreat. What does that mean? Rinpoche explained that in a traditional strict retreat, retreatants will mentally set a boundary for themselves. They will set their retreat boundaries. So they will think, I will not go beyond the boundaries of my bedroom, or I will not go beyond the boundaries of my prayer space. I will not go beyond the boundaries of my house. I will not go beyond the boundaries of my town for the duration of my retreat. I will not go beyond the boundaries of my cave for the duration of my retreat. So that's in a traditional strict retreat. Why? Because you are trying to cut out as many distractions as possible. So beyond that retreat boundary, you're recognizing that there exists distractions which will pull you away from time that you have chosen or selected or expressed the wish to dedicate towards your spiritual practice, all right, towards sit-down practice. So I mentioned that between sessions, retreatants will try not to engage in idle chatter or engage in purposeless speech with one another. What are the sessions? In a traditional retreat, a retreatant will do up to 4 sessions of practice a day, up to 4 sessions of retreat a day. The first session is from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. The next session is from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. The next session after that is from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And then the one after that is from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. So your retreat sessions don't run over 12 a.m., 6 a.m., 12 p.m., and 6 p.m. That is the 4 sessions a day that you can do. Minimum, in order for it to be considered a retreat, for the entire duration of your retreat, you should do at least minimum 1 session per day, every single day. All right. So some people will do 4 sessions a day. Some people will do 3 sessions a day. Some people will do 1 session every single day for a very long period of time, for example. Excuse me. So depending on how quickly you want to complete your retreat, you will do more or fewer sessions per day. And in between each session, what you will do is you will clean your altar, you will prepare your offerings, you will clean your retreat space, you will read Dharma books, and so on. You will try to avoid distraction caused by entertainment. You will try to avoid idle chatter, purposeless speech, gossip, and so on. Why? Because you are carving out this time. You are setting aside this time to engage in spiritual practice. You are setting out this time to engage in sit-down practice. Given that we perceive ourselves to be so busy throughout the year that we cannot engage in retreat, why not use this time that we have set aside for ourselves to maximize this time fully? So speaking of time, how long can a retreat be? Some people engage in extensive retreats, so they will take out time, or they will dedicate time. Kawe, I see your question. I will respond to that. All right. So how long can retreats be? Some people will do what is called a 3-year retreat. It's called 3-year retreat, but in reality, it's 3 years, 3 months, 3 days. And in Tibetan, this retreat is called Losum Chosum. L-O, the transliterated version, L-O space S-U-M space C-H-O umlaut space S-U-M, Losum Chosum. All right. So they would do a 3-year, 3-month, 3-day retreat. Do people still do that? They do. Is it a old tradition that is no longer relevant? No, people still do that to this day. And there are practitioners to this day who will do a 3-year retreat. Once the 3-year retreat has finished, they will take a short break. And during the break, they might go and receive teachings from their teacher, go make offerings and so on. And then immediately after that short break, they'll go back into retreat for another 3 years, 3 months and 3 days. One very famous practitioner whom you guys may or may not be aware of, who has done something like this, is Jetsuma Tenzin Palmo, a very famous Buddhist nun who did 12 years of retreat altogether. And her experience is covered in a book and in a documentary called Cave in the Snow, which you guys can find on Rinpoche's blog. I will put up a link to that in the comment section below after this live stream, or if someone's very motivated, maybe David, then you guys can find the link and stick it up for everyone else to take a look at. All right. So Jetsuma Tenzin Palmo, incredible Buddhist nun, did 12 years of retreat in total in this modern age. All right. But for most of us who perceive ourselves to be very busy and perceive ourselves to not have time for practice, what Rinpoche encourages us to do is to do short retreats, especially on auspicious days, or especially on holidays, or especially on days that we traditionally dedicate to ourselves. For example, our birthday, the day that we use to celebrate ourselves. Okay, so Rinpoche encourages us to do retreats on days like those, short retreats, 1-day retreat, 2-day retreat over the weekend, even for the entire week. All right. So for those of us who perceive ourselves to be very busy, who can't do a 3-year, 3-month, 3-day retreat, then weekend retreats are very, very good. Week-long retreats if you can. All right. What deity should we focus on? What deity should we practice? I'm just double checking the questions Jenna asked me so that I can make sure that I don't miss out anything. What retreat to do? What deity should we focus on or practice? Generally speaking, Rinpoche advised everyone to do Lama Tsongkhapa retreats. So to focus on recitations of Miksema, accumulations of recitations of Miksema. If you guys, some of you may know, a number of years ago, Kacharians did a Miksemathon, a Miksema retreat, an extended Miksema retreat to accumulate 10 million recitations of Miksema cumulatively. But a Lama Tsongkhapa retreat, Rinpoche has recommended for us to do, to focus on accumulation of Miksema recitations. Rinpoche has also encouraged us to do Dorje Shukden retreats. So to focus on the accumulating of recitations of Dorje Shukden's mantra, which is Om Benza Wiki Bitana Soha. How often should a practitioner do it? That's another question that Jen Hao asked. How often should a practitioner do retreats? As often as possible, as often as you can. Rinpoche did recommend that for Lama Tsongkhapa retreats, those who consider themselves to be Rinpoche students should do Tsongkhapa retreat every 6 months, once every 6 months. All right, so to take out 2-3 days to recite as many Tsongkhapa retreats as possible. And there are other students of Rinpoche who have received personal instructions on specific practices or specific deities to focus on, but that's a separate matter. General advice, Lama Tsongkhapa or Dorje Shukden. How often? Lama Tsongkhapa once every 6 months. Dorje Shukden as often as you can. All right. Who can do retreats? Anyone can do a retreat. Do you have to be Buddhist in order to do a retreat? No, you don't have to be a Buddhist in order to do a retreat. You don't have to be Buddhist in order for karma to apply to you, right? So no, you don't have to be Buddhist in order to do retreat, but it is very helpful, and of course will be much, much more powerful if you have faith and if you actually believe in what it is that you are practicing, what you are engaging in. Jenna asked, can we do a couple retreat or take 8 precepts together? You absolutely can. My personal preference, is solitary retreats, because I find it quite distracting having other people around. I do see the advantage and I do see the benefits and the merit and the basis of doing group retreats because the energy is different when everyone comes together to do a retreat together. I 100% completely see and understand the benefits of that, the basis of that. But my personal preference is solitary retreats. But can you do couple retreat, meaning you and someone else together? Yes, you can. Can you take the 8 precepts together? Yes, you can. Oh, going back, rewinding slightly, on what retreats we can do. So I did say Lama Tsongkhapa and I did say Dorji Shukden. As Rinpoche students, now that Rinpoche's physical form is no longer here with us, as Rinpoche students, we should also do retreats on the Guru Yoga of Tsen Rinpoche. So to focus on accumulating as many recitations of Rinpoche's name mantra as possible. All right. The instructions for that retreat are on the blog. So Jen Hao asked, how often should a practitioner do it? So when is the best time to do retreats? The best time to do retreats is now, is any time. There is no perfect time to do a retreat. And if we keep waiting for the perfect time to do a retreat, it may never come. And I'm not talking about it may never come in the sense that the timing of our death is uncertain. Although that is true, the timing of our death is uncertain. And so the perfect time to do a retreat may never come because of that. What I'm talking about more is when will we not have commitments which are stopping us from doing retreat? When will we not have responsibilities which we perceive are stopping us from doing a retreat? When will we not have work to do? When will we not have something to take care of? If we keep waiting for a time when every single factor in our life is perfect in order for us to do retreat, it may never come. That time when every single thing is perfect for us to do retreat may never come. So just do it now and just make time for it now. We make time for everything else in our lives. So why not make time for us to do a retreat? Rinpoche said, if you're older, do retreat. Use the final years of our current human life to accumulate as much merit as possible and to purify as much karma as possible and to prepare for our next life. Use the final years of our current human life for that if we're old. If we're young, Rinpoche said, do retreat. Why? Just because you're young does not mean that our life cannot end at any time. And it does not mean that we have many, many more years left in this current life. So whatever years we have left, Rinpoche said, maximize them. So if you're older, do retreats. If you're younger, do retreats. So let me repeat. During a retreat, what are you retreating from? You are retreating from samsara. You are retreating from all of the actions that create karma for yourself. You are retreating back to your real and your true nature, which is your Buddha mind. You're retreating back to your potential and you're tapping into your potential to become enlightened and to become liberated and to become happy. That is what you're retreating from, which is samsara, and that is what you're retreating to, which is your potential to become enlightened. Retreat is not about escaping real life. Retreat is not about escaping reality. Some people have the misconception that, oh, this person's constantly in retreat because this person cannot deal with everything that's happening around them. In a way, that is true, that they can't deal with it. Why can they not deal with it? Because they recognize it for what it is, which is impermanent, which is purposeless, and they're retreating back to reality, which is, I know at some point this current human life is going to end. So whilst I still can, let me make the most of it by accumulating as much merit as possible, by purifying as much karma as possible, by preparing for my next life. So retreat is not about escaping from real life. It's not about escaping from reality. Some people will say, oh, you're doing it because you can't deal with the real world. But actually, it's not true. It is because you know that the world around you is not real. That is why you're retreating. So in fact, retreat is about going back to reality because we see that everything around us is impermanent and we see that everything around us does not truly exist beyond what we project and beyond what we perceive. So Jen Hao also asked what to prepare. Jen Hao, for specific retreats, the requirements for what to prepare changes slightly. So if there is a specific retreat that you have in mind that you wish to do, let me know, and I will either point you to a blog post on Rinpoche's blog, which explains it all, or if you have time, then I'll sit down with you and then I'll go through the retreat preparations step by step, all right, for a new practitioner. Jenna also asked how much money to prepare. It really depends. I assume when you ask how much money to prepare, you are asking this in relations to offerings, right? So, and to set up. So, as much as you can, because you want to make the best offerings possible, all right? I personally, I have a tendency to go overboard. So, it really depends on the individual person. I like to make like a lot of offerings, top offerings when I'm doing my retreat. So it does the cost does tend to escalate a little bit, but as much as you can afford, because you want to offer the best things that you can afford. You want to offer the best materials that you can afford, the best offering bowls that you can use, the best soap that you can, as abundant soap as possible. All right. So how much money to prepare is dependent on the individual, and it changes from person to person. All right. Now, let me just quickly scroll back through the comments and see what questions people have. Hi, Sam. I hope that your KSK round was okay yesterday. Oh, mine was very rainy. Kachar Soup Kitchen round, yeah, heavy rain. Hi, Sukfan. Hi, Pastor Gimli. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Penny. Hi, Choi. Hi, JC. Hi, Kawe. Okay, Kawe said, morning, Pastor Gina. For those who do 4 sessions per day, meaning to say that they only nap in between the sessions? Yes, correct. All right, so between retreat sessions, then you take a short nap, and then you continue with your retreat. What Rinpoche taught us is that, let's say you're doing a week-long retreat, right? You've taken out a week to do retreat. What we will do is, at the beginning and towards the end of the retreat, you will do like 1 session a day. But at the beginning, you will do, let's say, 1 session a day. Then day 2, you'll do 2 sessions. Then day 3, you'll do 3. Day 4, you'll do 4 sessions. And then as the week ends, then you taper off again. All right. So yes, if someone opts to do 4 sessions a day, then in between the retreat sessions, they will take a nap. But do not let that stop you from doing a retreat, because you actually get used to it. It actually becomes very manageable, and it actually becomes, I know it sounds odd to the conventional mind, but it actually becomes very energizing, because you get excited. I don't know why, but you get excited and you get energized to do a retreat. So you tend to find that you actually need less sleep than normal. So yes, in answer to my long-winded answer to your question is, yes, you take a nap between sessions. All right. Hi, Jerry. Hi, Joyce. Oh, okay. Penny asked where to refer to these retreat guides, Rinpoche's blog. The retreat guide for retreat preparation is actually at the beginning of every single retreat post that Rinpoche has. In every one of Rinpoche's retreat posts on the blog, there is a retreat text to download. At the beginning of every single retreat text, we've actually put the same standard instructions on how to prepare for a retreat. So you can go and read it there. And then if you have any questions, or if you need explanation, a more in-depth explanation of the particular retreat that you wish to do, let me know, and then I will set a time to do that with you. All right. Hi, Eunice. Hi, Joseph. Hi. Oh, hi, Carolina. So sorry if I mispronounce your name. Okay, so yeah, those are the questions that we have so far. Jenhao, if you're still watching, I don't know if you're still watching, but if you're still watching, I hope that I've answered your questions, and if I haven't, please let me know. If you guys do have any other questions about what it is that I have explained so far, please also let me know. And then what I'll do is I'll get back to you as soon as I can after this live stream. All right, because it seems like we're done for today. So yeah, that is it from me for today, for this week, for this month of, what month are we on? June. Gosh. All right, so yeah, that is it from me for this week and for the month of June. Again, thank you so much to the 3 sponsors of today's sharing, and for the 3 sponsors of today's talk. and video. Thank you for your continued support. If you guys have any questions or any specific topics that you would like for me to cover in July, please let me know. You can ask me literally anything at all, and I will do my best to answer it for you. And if I can't answer it for you, then I will get someone else to do that. All right. So I will see you guys next week. Oh, before I quickly go, Jerry asked a question. What do we do to clear obstacles before retreat? Rinpoche has recommended that we engage in a Kalarupa Puja, sponsor Kalarupa Puja to clear obstacles before retreat. All right. So you can contact Kachara House to do that, or if you know how to do Kalarupa yourself, then you can do that as well. But it's strongly, highly recommended that we engage in a Kalarupa Puja before we start a retreat. All right, so that is it for me for this week. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys next week, same time, same place for, I say see you, but it's a pre-recorded video. But yeah, I'll see you guys next week, Sunday, 10 a.m. Malaysian time. Have a great week ahead, and as ever, please don't forget to be kind to each other. Bye.